Clean Impact team, how you guys doing? So mopping, hands-on video about mopping. First, if you don't have any dilution systems at the buildings you do or at a building you do, what you want to do is get a cap full of whatever it is that you're using to clean the floors and put that in a mop bucket. You don't want to fill the mop bucket up so much to where you're over diluting the chemical. Now that little bit of chemical might seem like it's not a lot, but it's gonna do a lot. We don't want the floors to be sticky, which would happen if we were to use too much chemical. So we use a cap full, and you don't want to overfill it. If your bucket has like the wave thing in there, I would say fill it up that much. So if you're good at eyeballing and your bucket doesn't have the wave thing, then about that much. I would say somewhat a little bit over halfway it should be full. But other than that, if you have a dilution system, obviously you can dilute the bucket up and you don't have to worry about eyeballing and putting the cap full in there. It's already diluted. Another thing about mopping is the pattern. So you don't want to be all crazy with how you're mopping. I don't know if anybody has said this in the interviews lately, watched the videos with Kurt, but the best way to do it is in a figure 8, as he says, but it's an exaggerated figure 8. It's not actual figure 8. And you want to make sure that you are moving from one side to the other side. So you start at the furthest corner, basically, with your mop bucket or with your mop, and you work yourself out of the room. So you get a good sweep in. After that, you do your mopping and you start from the furthest corner. So that way, and if this is a room, mopping should be the last thing. So that way, you don't have to touch anything else. You mop your way out and you're done. And when the customer goes in there, it'll be all dry, fresh and clean. You haven't went back in there and retract, you know. You can go back in there and retract when it's, you can go back in there when it's dry just in case, but you know, the point is to do it on your way out so you don't gotta go back in and do nothing. You know, that's the finishing touch. So I'm gonna show y'all how to do that. We're gonna just imagine that this is the corner of the room that I'm gonna start at and the exit is back here. So you do that. You go like this and you just work your way back to the exit. And that's how you mop. You don't wanna, be mopping all over, scattered and stuff like that. And you wanna have a good motion, good pattern. One thing you don't wanna do either is just like mop over the surface light and one time to where, like, especially if floors are extra dirty. If they're extra dirty, like you're gonna have to put a little elbow in there. So when you're going back, as you're walking back, there might be an area you come across where you have to stay stationary and just go back and forth for a few more swipes, and then start back moving. You don't gotta do nothing crazy, but you're just mopping. You come across an area that's heavily saturated with dirt and stuff, just stay stationary and just go back and forth on your feet like this, as if you were just like a kid or something, I don't know. But that's really it about the mopping. The actual mop itself. Make sure you are changing these out on a regular basis. However much that you use these, you will know how often to change these because they will start stinking. And when they start stinking, people can smell it. And also if you're using it on a dirty floor or fresh water, it's gonna contaminate the whole water and it's gonna stink up the place. Now, it won't be too funky, but they're gonna smell it probably for about like 30 minutes to an hour maybe, depending on how smelly it is. So you don't wanna put that down on the floor, and then you got customers complaining about how it stink, if they're present. If it's a thing where they're not there, then by the morning, if you mistakenly do it, then they probably won't smell it. But other than that, just make sure you do it on a regular basis to where it doesn't smell ever, when the customer's coming in and stuff like that. If you guys got Chat GPT, I mean, you can ask Chat GPT when you think you should do it. But really, it's just like a thing off of when you, like, how often you're using it and when you're doing the building. Everybody doesn't have the same, every building, it doesn't have the same volume of cleaning. You know, some buildings 5 days, 3 days, 2 days, 1 day, you know, things like that. Other than that, man, I think that's about it on the mopping. I wish I had the mop Bible. I think that's what I'm going to do with these videos. I'm going to start going over them with the mop, with the actual Bibles. That way, you know, I know I'm hitting it on the nose. But other than that, yeah, figure 8. Make sure you're working your way out the room. Make sure you're changing these. Mop with a motion, good motion. Make sure saturated areas are getting, you know, the love that they should be getting. And yeah, that's about it. If I left anything out, let me know. Like I said, I don't have the Bible. You can say that down in the comments. Let me know. I don't have the Bible. That's why I said I'm going to start doing these with the Bible. Other than that, you guys have a good weekend and catch you next week.